what do you think happens to us after we die?
Well, I believe in God, so I believe that we go to heaven.
Cool. And do you have to be a good person to go to heaven?
I believe that if you read and you pray and you stay as loyal as you can to the Bible,
Yep.
um,
Do you
then
think you've kept the Ten Commandments pretty well?
no,
No.
not me.
Yeah, like for example, the ninth one says we shall not lie. Have you ever lied before?
I have.
Yeah, me too. Have you ever stolen something?
I have.
What about this one? Have you ever used bad language before?
I have.
Yeah, so if God was to judge you based on those things, would you be innocent or guilty?
Definitely guilty.
So therefore, should you go to heaven or hell?
I believe that because I haven't followed that, and I
Right.
would be sent to not to heaven.
Yeah, and that should terrify us, right? Because hell's a lake of fire, it goes on forever. So what can we
Exactly.
do so that we don't get sent to hell?
What can we do? Not the things that we've been doing and sinning.
Okay, even if we stop doing those things, does that get rid of all the times we've done it in the past?
No, but we can always ask for forgiveness.
All right, let's say a criminal stands before a judge in a court of law and he says, Judge, I murdered somebody yesterday, but I'm sorry today, I won't do it again. Please let me go free. Would that work?
I don't believe so. No.
No, same thing with God. Even if we ask Him for forgiveness, He can't just ignore the sins that we've done. He's still going to have
Right.
to punish us, and that's hell forever. So the only way that we could actually get to heaven is if someone takes our punishment for us. But it's got to be someone perfect. Do you know of anyone who's lived perfectly?
Nope.
There's only been one, and that was Jesus. Why
Jesus.
did
Yeah.
He die on the cross?
Why did he die?
Yeah, what was the purpose of that?
He died for our sins.
Yeah, so if He takes the punishment for every sin that you've done, where would you go when you die?
If he takes the punishment for all the sins that I've done,
Yeah,
well, I believe heaven. If
yeah,
he's taken all the sins,
exactly right. So based on what we've just said, what's the reason you'd be able to go to heaven?
because Jesus has
Yeah.
taken
And
sins.
so not because you've stopped your sinning, not because you've asked for forgiveness, but just because of what Jesus done for you on that cross.
It's
The
so
only
beautiful.
thing you've got to do to get to heaven then is for you to simply trust that Jesus has already taken your punishment for you. Does that make sense?
But right. But what if we continue sinning? And now that I know this, be like, oh, I know I can continue doing what I'm doing, and then have I know Jesus got me because
Yeah. I guess I don't think you'd want to. Think of it this way: if you're in a burning building and a fireman risks his life to bring you out to safety, what would you want to do for that fireman who saved you?
well, I'm a firefighter, so
Oh, there you go. Oh, wow.
yeah,
So you'd want to thank the person who saved you, right?
exactly. Of
You wouldn't want to punch him in the face.
course not.
In the same way, if Jesus has laid his life down to save you from hell, what would you want to do for Jesus?
Obviously, thank him.
Yeah, and therefore not just keep on sinning against him.
Right.
And so that's what will motivate you to start living a better life, not because you have to, but because you want to, because you're so
Exactly.
grateful that he's died for you. Does that
This is
make
awesome.
sense?
Yeah, this is amazing, and I appreciate that.
And so I guess the big question for you is, when are you going to trust that Jesus took the punishment for all of your sins?
Now, there's
Makes
no
sense
reason I
to,
can't
doesn't
believe
it?
it.
Hey.
Exactly.
And do you have a Bible at home?
I do.
Yeah. When did you last read it?
Uh, today actually.
You read it every day?
I for the most part, yeah. I try to
That's
read.
cool.
I try to read every day. But I'm going over like Mark and Matthew and Jeremiah and all that. So
Oh, cool. Yeah. Because I think that's
right,
going to help you grow in your faith and help you stay on the right path is by reading the Bible.
right.
Um, and so let's say you stand before God today. God asks you, why should I let you into heaven? What would you say to him?
What would I say right now?
Hmm.
Well, that I have faith and that I've always believed, and I don't know.
Faith
I
in
can have
what?
faith in Him,
Yeah.
and
What
that I
about
only
him?
that I fear Him and Him only,
Okay. So
and do nothing else.
notice what you're trusting in is kind of your, I guess, your faith in him. You're trusting in your, maybe your faithfulness, right, to
Right,
him, rather
right.
than trusting in, oh, it's simply because Jesus paid for all my sin. That's the reason I'm going to heaven. Do you see the
Right.
difference? All right, because what's getting us to heaven is not our faithfulness. It's simply the fact that Jesus died for our sin. We simply receive that forgiveness from Jesus by faith, by trusting that he died for our sin.
Right.
But it's not our faithfulness that's saving us. Do you understand that?
Yep.
And so, go back to that question then. If God asks you, why should I let you into heaven? What would you say?
I'd say because of the faith that I've gotten from Jesus and how he's paid for our sins.
Yeah, exactly right. It's only what he's done for you. And God would say, welcome to heaven. All of your sins have been paid for in full. And so, how sure are you now that if you died today, that you go to heaven?
100%.
Yeah, and why are you 100%?
Because Jesus paid for our sins.
Exactly right. It's so freeing and so comforting then. And
Yeah.
it gives you a whole new perspective on life. Instead of being thinking like, oh, life's about how much money I can earn and how many friends I can get and possessions I can gain,
Right.
you're thinking all those things are so temporary, they don't last. Instead, since I know I'm going to heaven, which is going to be infinitely better than the best things here, I
Mm-hmm.
guess I want to do things that are of eternal value,
Right.
including telling the message of Jesus to other people. Right? Because I'm sure you know some family or friends who are not yet currently trusting that Jesus paid for their sin. And so
Yep.
if those people died today, where would they go?
Not heaven.
Right, it'd be hell. And so what can you do to help them not go there?
Spread the word. Spread them. Let them know. Inform
Exactly
them
right.
that Jesus paid for their sins.
Yeah,
Hey, this is awesome. I appreciate that.
yeah, no worries, man. I'm from Australia. My name's Ryan. What's your name?
Fits.
That's cool, man. And I'd say it's no accident that God paired us in this conversation today. I think obviously God's trying to get your attention.
Right.
And so I'm really glad that you've understood that the way to heaven is simply by trusting that Jesus paid for our sin. And what you'll find yourself getting better and better at resisting your sin as time goes on, because
Right.
you'll be like, I'm saved now. I know I'm going to heaven, and so I love Jesus. I want to be obedient to him.
Right.
You won't be perfect, but you'll be on, I guess, a trajectory of getting more and more holy as time goes on.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, that's good,
I,
man. Do you go to
I
church
appreciate.
yourself?
So I used to go to a church, and they've moved. So I've been trying to just find a new church closer.
Yep.
But I loved when I went to church. I loved going to church, and for the most part, I usually when I work on Sundays, obviously I can't, but I'll do like the online, and I'll listen to an online one. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I'd encourage you, find a good Bible believing church, but check everything you hear with the Bible to make sure it lines up with that, and that way
right,
you won't go astray.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you have any questions yourself?
Um, how exactly can I read the Bible and understand and like actually follow through
Yeah,
with reading it?
I would say to get you in the habit of reading it every day, maybe say to yourself, no Bible, no breakfast. No read, well then no feed. All right, and that'll get you in the habit of reading it every day.
Yeah, that'll definitely
And
work. I eat a lot, so
yeah, and I think just even if something doesn't make sense, like you're like, oh, I'm not sure what this means, just
uh-huh.
keep going, and maybe later in the passage it'll actually kind of give a bit more meaning to what it was actually talking about earlier on.
Right.
So that can be helpful. But also there's a good website that can be helpful. If there's something you're like, I don't understand what this is mean, there's a website called gotquestions.org. Well,
Appreciate it.
thanks so much for the chat. What was your name again? So
Fitz, Fitz.
Fitz. Oh, cool. Nice
Fitz,
meeting
yep,
you, Fitz. Yeah, and I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation.
sir.
And even if I never see you again, I'm hoping that I'll see you in heaven, and that's because you've trusted Jesus paid for your sin.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. All right. Well, have a great night, man.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. No worries. See ya.